Does Laura Loomer have more evidence to support an election contest in Florida's District 11? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Since I last discussed what happened in the Republican primary in that House district in Florida, a big dust-up is blown up in Orange County, Florida. This involves the Democratic primary and a county commissioner's race. But because Orange County was the place where Daniel Webster got his biggest margin, that cries out for further investigation. And while this is playing out in Florida, the mainstream media are reporting a raft of resignations and retirements by senior officers of election in 9 or more states. Why all these resignations this close to midterms? We're going to ask about that, and stick with me to the end of this video where I will suggest a few simple election reforms that could solve a lot of problems and put a lot of minds at ease. Before we get into it, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. And be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, including this t-shirt that I've chosen for today, which reads, "Freedom isn't free," and it isn't. And remember, the price of freedom is eternal what? Yes, eternal vigilance. Laura Loomer, of course, lost her primary race in Florida's 11th U.S. House District to incumbent Daniel Webster. You'll recall that the lead in that primary seesawed between Loomer and Webster for an hour and 9 minutes after the polls closed at 7 p.m. local time. In fact, a Twitter user tweeted these figures. See here. Quote, "Laura Loomer was up or down by 200 votes all night, and then boom, Webster got a net 6,000 votes dump with 99% counted. Audit." Well, Twitter suspended that account, but not before Laura Loomer screen capped the tweet, which is why I could just show it to you a few minutes ago. She also made much of Dan Conston's boast about budgeting $50,000 for turnout calls on primary day. I have a link to it in the description, and you will notice, as Laura Loomer did, that this tweet came after 8:09 p.m. when Webster's totals broke out as they did. Now, Laura Loomer also tells us that turnout calls on the day of an election are not normal practice. A 2005 Yale study concluded that nonpartisan turnout calls generally don't help. In any case, Laura Loomer charges that the Republican establishment used that money for something else. What? She won't say. She probably doesn't know. But you can bet that she's going to go after that angle in the next few days. But even this is not the strongest evidence that has developed in the days since that primary. Something else just happened that broke this case wide open. Florida House District 11 includes 4 counties, or parts of them: Lake, Orange, Polk, Sumter. Sumter County is, that's right, is the Villages, the largest single-stop retirement community in America. Lake County is Daniel Webster's home base, though he has family in Orange County. Laura Loomer carried Sumter County by 1,600 votes. Webster carried Lake County by 1,300. Now, Webster also carried Polk County, but by a mere 28 votes. So that's not enough to consider. But Daniel Webster carried Orange County by more than 6,100 votes, and he won the primary overall by 5,800. Therefore, Orange County is the key. Laura Loomer has also indicated that she always knew that the big mail dump happened there at 8:09 p.m. I have a link in the description to a tweet from Vdare.com showing this graphic. Votes counted as a function of time, though not to scale. Hell, now, look at this fork right here. That's her focus. Yesterday, the West Orlando News carried one shocker of a story. In an Orange County Commissioner's race in County District 6, second place finisher Cynthia Harris abruptly lost 10 votes, and this put third place finisher Michael Scott ahead of her. Now she, Scott, and front-runner Laura Loomer each finished with less than 20% of the votes cast. So all these are Democrats. Therefore, runoff to take place coincident with midterms. But why did Cynthia Harris lose those 10 votes and the runoff spot with them? Because Bill Coles, Supervisor of Elections for Orange County, said someone in his office fed ballots to a scanner tabulator more than once. The West Orlando News reasonably asked in effect, what does he mean, someone? Who? In fact, this isn't the first time someone has officially questioned election integrity in Orange County, Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis announced, to much fanfare, the arrests of 20 individuals on election fraud charges, 3 of them from Orange County, Florida. Naturally, the West Orlando News is asking, what kind of office is Bill Coles running? This morning, we now learn from the Orlando Sentinel that Mike Scott will advance to a runoff with Lawrence Gelser. That decision came after a 13-hour recount, so Cynthia Harris is out, and she is going to contest the results. True enough, not one report has surfaced to connect the fluctuation in vote totals in that commissioner's race with the counting of votes in any congressional race or races that have a piece of that county. The Orlando Sentinel quoted the general counsel for the elections office as saying such fluctuations happen all the time, but they don't always split results. They did this time. Low turnout, special circumstances. But the West Orlando News quoted the Supervisor of Elections admitting that someone in his office made a serious mistake. Not only that, but 3 of 20 of Governor Santos' election fraud suspects came from Orange County. Now for Laura Loomer to question that, that's a no-brainer. Could that be where the $50,000 went? Stay tuned. Governor Santos has made election integrity a prime issue, not only for his re-election campaign, but also in official policy. Other governors have not been so diligent, but now we hear of many, many senior officers of election resigning their posts this year. But before we talk about that, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me, many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities that this company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, the Daily Cable has an article with a definite partisan slant. This much, though, I can take away from it. Senior election officials in at least 9 states are quitting. They include the entire 3-member elections office staff for Gillespie County, Texas. The Fredericksburg Standard, that's Fredericksburg, Texas, the seat of Gillespie County, in fact, quotes one of them as blaming threats and stalking for her decision to leave. KXAM and TV quotes Sam Taylor, Texas Deputy Secretary of State for Communications, as saying he's never seen anything like this before. The Daily Cable article quotes him as saying that Texas has seen a 30% turnover in county officials in the last 10 years. But the cable article leads with what is likely the real reason for these resignations. Now listen to this. Longtime county clerk Sam Merlino decided to leave her job after officials in Nye County, Nevada accepted a pitch from a Republican nominee for Secretary of State to stop using voting machines for the general election and instead switch to hand counting. Now, why should that prompt an election official to quit? Could it be that she knows that the machines are black boxes? Hand counts would relieve a lot of suspicion, and they need not take up too much time. In fact, ABC News in April carried a story on how France does its elections. The details are very instructive, perhaps in a way that ABC never intended. All voters vote on paper, and by law, only the paper ballots count. Any person who cannot vote in person on election day may designate another person to vote on his or her behalf. But to do that, the voter must register himself or herself and his or her proxy in advance. What's more, the voter must leave the form for that registration with the local police. A person may serve as a proxy for one voter living in France and maybe also for an expatriate. In fact, I once thought about a mobile voting precinct to go where a shut-in might go and take his or her vote there. But if that shut-in, or the 24/7 scheduled professional, or whoever, can register a proxy ahead of time, you don't need a mobile voting precinct. Since 1975, mail-in ballots have been illegal in France. France has started to introduce machines since 2002. But since 2008, France has bought no new machines by reason of security concerns. President Emmanuel Macron tried to allow early voting by machine, but the French Senate would have none of it. People who test positive for the virus that shall remain nameless may still vote. Authorities in April encouraged but did not require such people to wear masks. No telling what they'll recommend today. Officers of election allow hand washing, make hand sanitizer available, and ventilate the polling places for 10 minutes every hour. Now, if the French can do it, so can we. And this would eliminate all the problems Laura Loomer cited and the West Orlando News reported. No mail-in ballots, no scanner tabulators with people feeding the machines more than once. Problems solved. And in case you think I'm being persnickety about this, remember, a judge, whether of elections or of any other matter, must avoid even the appearance of evil if he wants people to trust him. Link in the description of the article, to the Dan Conston tweet, to the Vdare tweet showing that graph I showed you, and the conservative news and views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and click on the bell icon to get notices as soon as I put out another video. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link and also a link to the video I did before, right after Laura Loomer lost that primary and announced her intention to contest it. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.